Welcome everybody to another episode of the Retro Gaming Hippie. Now with music, if I get that loaded up right, and little monikers. There is my trusty stallion, sitting right next to my beater with the heater. Kind of funny when the bicycles are worth more than the car, in case of that. As you can see, we've moved into our summer residence. Sky Pilot is still alive up on the hill. Hasn't brought down the bus yet. And we upgraded to a nicer, bigger tent. And I think the plan is to do a whole year this year. This particular tent has the ability to have a wood stove, so I'm still kind of doing the research on that to see what kind of wood stove I want to get. Throw that in there and see how the winter went. But this is about games and toys, so let's take a look. Now, as you can see by the title too, we'll talk about that in a minute. The title that I'll probably scroll on there. This is going to talk a little bit about me running into a real reseller. There was a garage sale the weekend before last. One of our Jimmy thrift stores every year has a huge garage sale. It's the kind of thrift store that everything is free. At their main store, a lot of clothes, blankets, things like that. I mean, everything is just it's free. So once a year they have a really big garage sale where people donate a bunch of stuff. And I found some really good stuff out there before. They usually have it in the parking lot. Well, this year they must have had 50 million times more stuff than they could think of. So they actually opened up during the week, and they moved to the Elks Lodge. And every day, I think it started on Wednesday through Sunday, they opened up, putting out new stuff as old stuff went out or something like that. They did. There were a couple things I found there on the first day that are still in my storage unit, like a Super Nintendo, a Nintendo, and 5 or 6 games. Nothing really rare, your Mario's, your Mario Worlds, good games, but nothing really rare. But we got out and about on the bike and on the run the last few weeks, and let's take a look at some of the games first. Little Twisted Metal 2 Greatest Hits complete, really fun game. I never played them past Twisted Metal Black. But for the original PlayStation, this is probably the most fun games I've ever played on it. And I really like to see how there's a lot of different variants out there of not always just a fighting game, cars, but just racing. Like Toy Story Racing is a really fun game. Smurf Racing is really fun. When it comes to battle ones, there's a WWE Crush Hour that's a lot of fun. Star Wars Demolition, which I wish I could tell you was a lot of fun, but they kind of missed the mark. Like the fighting game Terra Kasai. A lot of potential, just missed the mark. But Mortal Kombat has a game. It's Mortal Kombat Armageddon, Deadly Arts, but it has little side games in there, and one is a fighting game, or fighting racing game. Genesis Collection, Phantasy Stars 2, 3, and 4, which is probably the big one I was going to play on that. Everything else game-wise, okay, but I didn't really explore the Phantasy Star Collection back then. This is an experiment for me. PS3, NCAA 2014. It was like $1, and for some reason this game on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 tends to have a good value to sell or to trade. I'm guessing it has to do with completing, maybe I don't know. Red Ninja End of Honor. I think I played this on PlayStation 2. It's okay. I like the graphics. I like the blood, kind of a blood sprayish, not like splatter, but kind of like a misty blood thing. I'm trying to get a game or a movie that comes close to that, but I'll check that out. Probably the greatest game I ever played right here. I probably have like 2 or 3 copies of it just because they seem to sometimes fail, for me at least. So I stockpile copies of this one, the second one, because it's got everything that this guy loves in a game as far as role-playing, simple play-through, not huge on unlocking stuff like some of the Final Fantasies, which are great, but pretty simple to follow and know where to go next. But you can just do so much with the characters, so much with weapons. I mean, if you haven't played it, it's just an amazing game. And then the story too, for Star Wars people who know the canon. I mean, yeah, you know what I mean if you played it. This is another role-playing. I've not played this series at all on PlayStation 2. This is number 3, Suikoden. This I have played. Pretty straightforward. Baldur's Gate, Dark Alliance, Overhead. First, one person. Champions of Norath is very similar to this, or Call to Arms, or whatnot. In my opinion, simple but fun. Think of it like Gauntlet, if you ever played Gauntlet, but without 4 people, but the top-down, simple to follow and play through, kind of nice. One of the greatest movies ever made, The Warriors. And this actually is in really, really good shape too, the case and everything. You kind of fight through just like The Warriors movie. If you haven't seen The Warriors movie, check it out. It's definitely 70s, low budget at its best, but I think some iconic dialogue in that thing. So Warriors can come out and play. A couple Ninja Gaidens. My friend on the south end really likes Ninja Gaiden. So black and regular. And then a little SNK Arcade Classics, which has a lot of the SNK being like the Neo Geo arcade games that were big, cartoony, fun enough, I think. Definitely much better to buy this and play it than to spend money on a Neo Geo, which is ridiculously expensive, and they were ridiculously expensive when they came out. The systems were like $400 or $500. The games were $100. They looked and played just like the arcade game, but I was like, yeah, it's a lot of money. This other game find was actually not out on the road. It's actually OfferUp, which, you know, I'm having a lot of good success with. I missed out on a lot of the games they were advertising, which they were $8. Well, they had 3 different sets. There was an 8, a 15, and a $20 bundles, and gosh, they had some. If it was legitimate, Mega Turrican 2 in that $10. Joe and Max. I mean, there were some very high dollar games there that I didn't get on because by the time I saw it, and of course I asked if you ship, and then having to go through all that. But long story short, I'm really happy with what I came out with because it's fit in with what I want to keep a lot of wrestling titles. I've never played this one, WCW Super Brawl. Old school WCW Wrestling for Nintendo, which I'm pretty well. I know the wrestling games on Nintendo based off of real wrestling in the United States. I have them all now. I'm missing, I think, a couple of Japanese type ones like Fire Pro Wrestling. I think I have the Pro Wrestling. But anyway, I'm getting really close to completing my wrestling collection for games. I never saw this movie. Kind of curious to play the game. Cool World. With Brad Pitt is in this, but it was a live action / animated type of movie, like Roger Rabbit, but I think a little bit more adult, but not rated R. Another I've heard really fun wrestling game. Play Saturday Night Slam Masters, so it's not like WCW or WWF or ECW. It's just based on characters they made up, except for it does have Hager from Final Fight in it, and it is made by Capcom. Sticking to my games and superheroes too, which is another area I like to get a hold of. I haven't played this one either, Justice League Task Force. DC characters definitely my favorite ones over Marvel, and unfortunately it doesn't have. I don't think it has Green Lantern, who's my favorite superhero, but it does have the Flash. Captain America and the Avengers. I don't know if this one plays like the arcade game by the same title. If it does, it'll be a fun side scroller like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle arcade game. Wolverine. Adamantium Rage. I didn't even know this one existed as far as comic book stuff. Wildcats. Jim Lee started this. Boy, I think I was getting into comics in the early 90s at that time. And I think that was right around Wildcats came out, like 92, 93 or something like that. Never got into that comic. I did read some, did have a few, but I didn't know they had a game on it, so it's kind of cool. This is a really fun, simple, fun game to play. Lost Vikings, puzzle solver. Basically, it's like Lemmings or kind of like Worms, if you ever played those. You got 3 Vikings, like one might be able to jump, one might be able to swing a sword, or one might have a shield. And they're just placed in different areas on the screen, and you got to utilize them going back and forth to unlock a trap, a key, or something like that. You know, so it's simple and it's fun and well done. And same with this one, as far as not simple but fun and well done. Earthworm Jim 2 is really cool. You know, a worm that gets a space power suit, and the music, the sound effects, and everything just made this a really good game. So these guys were all in her $8 lot. So I got them all for $8 a piece, which was a really good score for me as far as filling in things I want. And they're perfect for me that, you know, as you saw them and I went through them, you know, there's writing on that and stickers on the back and stickers on that. And I don't really care what things look like as long as they play, and the cartridges are pretty solid. So toys have been my weakness lately. And I did find a few toys at our thrift store. One of my favorite toy lines I ever got, He-Man. They turned out to be like $5 for all 3 of them. After the discount stuff from the thrift store. A couple of Triclops, one actually has everything on them. I don't have a Man-at-Arms at all, so now I do. Just no armor or anything, and curiously no mustache, which is how he came. But he had a whole bunch of armor on him too. And then, of course, the man, the myth, He-Man. He's definitely a loose speeder. He doesn't have his power action anymore. I actually have a complete He-Man already, so not sure what I'll end up doing with this guy. He might go in the front of my car. It's not a bad idea, because he's pretty beat up there. Only somebody like me would be willing to trade for him or something. But he has a good spot for the car. The last thing I got, and I'll just kind of look at it real briefly, is all my wrestling dudes, which I actually got off of eBay. But these are really close to me. Growing up as a kid, I had these. We'll pull out Fezzik, Andre. These hard as crap rubber, didn't move, durable as hell, you know, as all heck, but mostly for posing and whatnot. And the original ring is in there. I did, you know, spend a pretty penny for me for 16 wrestlers. And the ring I ended up paying $160 with shipping, which by all accounts I could see that number one is something I really want and want to use. Number two, the rings really seem like they go for $100 or more. That one's complete. It's it's getting a little beat up here and there, from age and years, but I mean, it's all complete in ropes, and we've got belts. I mean, got the whole shebang. And 16 dudes. This probably being one of my favorites. Mean Gene Okerlund, consummate professional. He used a Bobby Heenan. That's another guy that is a consummate professional. But I'm sure we're gonna be having some wrestling wars. But let's wrap this up talking a little bit about my reseller experience. So the Saturday that really big rush I was talking about, I'll show up there and I know where the games are at, and we're lining up, and they let us in. There's a dude that's literally scanning things with his phone. He picks up a stack of 360 games and PS3 games, and he's scanning with his phone. Just bam, 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 bam. And I know what he's doing, and I just playing dumb. I was like, hey, you're scanning. What are you scanning for? So I'm checking prices, blah blah blah. So short. So I said, I get it. I resell sometimes too, and trade and whatnot. But I was like, gosh, shouldn't you know? I mean, I know by looking at things if it's worth picking up, if it's worth my time to mess around with or whatnot, not just scan it like that. I mean, it just seemed really weird to me. And so, I got a little snarky with him, just like, shouldn't you learn about what you're doing? I mean, it's just a job. It's a free country. It's a job for me to do to scan. The system does this. And like, in my head, I'm a hippie, I guess. I look at it or whatnot. But there's definitely a blue collar side to me. Then I'm thinking, yeah, it's a free country. You could take that phone and throw it across the room, and what would you do? Because you couldn't just look at something and know. You have to read off of that. But I also did give him a little piece of advice. Just like I use a price guide for gaming, but you don't know unless you look deeper. Is it might say the average cost of this game is $10 in a global environment, but if you look at it, you'll find yes, they do sell for $10 once a year, or twice a month, or kind of comes down to that idea too. But it just didn't seem like fun to me that this guy was just scanning things and stacking things and whatnot. But I didn't see that he got any. There was nothing there that he was gonna get that I would have been interested in. That's for sure. A lot of newer stuff, which, hey man, more power to you if that's your thing. So, that's my collection pickups the last couple of days, and I guess we'll get myself set up a little more here. Maybe when I set up the old wrestling ring, we'll do a little main event action or something like that. The good thing about me camping out here is I'm camped right behind the Veterans of Foreign Wars restaurant, and they have an old TV in the back that anytime I want to hook up a Retron system, which I carry, or a PS2, I can hook up back there and I can play my games, which I'll probably do this winter. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully I got my music, I think, going with some editing and some word verbiage, but I think we're only going to get better with things. So maybe one day I'll get you some videotape of being out on the road. Till then, happy hunting, and if I see you out there, man, just say, hey, Retro Gaming Hippie.